Hey, Reluctant Preppers, you could have been watching this video the moment it came out.
By going to HealingYourself.Life and subscribing to our new sister channel, Healing Yourself. See you there.
HealingYourself.Life provides information for awareness, educational, and support purposes only and does not diagnose or prescribe treatment for any medical condition. Viewers are encouraged to do their own due diligence and consult with their own medical caregivers before making personal treatment decisions.
Welcome back, HealingYourself.Life viewers. We are here with our off-grid family practice integrative doctor, Dr. J. Nielsen MD. He's here with us to talk this time about male hormones and why they are critical to our health and well-being and vitality and ability to be effective in our lives. Dr. Nielsen, thank you once again for joining us on HealingYourself.Life.
It's a pleasure.
In our last episode, and people, if they've missed that, they should really check it out on female hormones. Are they a key to vitality past midlife? And but here we're going to talk about male hormones because they are also critical to the ability to function and to carry on. And we've both in emergency situations, but in our everyday lives as well. And as members of keeping a job and keeping a family and doing what we need to do. So could you talk to us first about what are some symptoms of problems with male hormone levels and how people may be aware of this issue for them?
Well, you remember that we talked about the fact that absolute no hormones in a woman has a high risk of Alzheimer's. And that's not true in men. And the reason is women, what causes menopause is their ovaries die. They turn into a scar, and their hormones, if they don't have any body fat making estrogen, they have nothing. And they lose their on switch. Whereas men tend to more get lower and lower, but keep making some, so they idle down. The difference between less and none is magnificently different. And so it's very common to miss this diagnosis in men because most of the symptoms can be explained by another problem, and that doctors have been told, oh, it's dangerous to do, and doctors are uncomfortable talking about it because they're mostly men and they aren't any good at it. Okay, they don't tend to confront things well, and so all of those things have left us rather in the dark ages of testosterone replacement. When I was doing it back in the 80s, I had urologists and gynecologists and people who were really angry at me that my patients were better and that they said, oh, you shouldn't do this. And you talk to them, they didn't know much. They just simply were ignorant, and I don't think they were well trained. And so we're now seeing a huge explosion in interest in testosterone. One of the reasons is the problem is getting worse very quickly. And in the middle of tonight, we'll talk about where that's at. I want to talk first about what are the symptoms. I'm going to give people an opportunity in case they want to stop and review these, okay, that we really are being given bad information. The number one symptom of low testosterone, in my opinion, is anger. Okay, I got low T, so there'll be lots of stories about Jay tonight. Okay, and my wife will get up in the morning. There'll be something on the news, and my response to the news will be inappropriate in her opinion, and she'll go, "You really must have low testosterone today." And I'll get out a little Axiron, which I almost never use, and put it on my shoulder because it makes my shoulder heal. And 5 minutes later, my mood is completely different. And we're not telling people that your husband's angry has got something to do with hormones. Depressed, yeah, we're getting that message. But we're not getting the anger. And yet when
it's the opposite of what we were told, that like these professional wrestlers and cheating bodybuilders or whatever with the big bulging foreheads that are on steroids or whatever are the ones who have got the anger problem.
Well, and they do, but
problem.
That's different. I'm talking about an 800 dropping to a 200. You're talking about an 800 going to a 4,000 because they're abusing steroids. Indeed, high dose testosterone does cause very aggressive behavior.
Okay.
And the second thing that's a big deal for men And a lot of these guys will come in and they'll say, I'm working out, I can't get any muscle mass, and I'm actually lifting 70% of what I was lifting 5 years ago, and I'm doing the same thing. So you're losing muscle strength and muscle mass. Okay?
I can attest to that.
And me too. And your butt gets smaller. The largest muscle in your body is your gluteus. And so when your pants don't fit the same, that's something to think about. We talked about depression. I work with 5 counselors in this office. They commonly refer people to me who have been depressed. And of course, the sad thing is the number one drug for lowering testosterone is SSRIs. So these guys come in with depression, they get put on an SSRI, it lowers their testosterone, then they stop the SSRI, they're still depressed because they now have low T, so they go back on the SSRI, lower their testosterone more. I'm seeing 18-year-old boys that have less testosterone than me after being on an SSRI for 2 or 3 years. These antidepressants are awful, so are pain pills, and we'll talk about that. Of course, weight gain. You got no metabolism, you're going to gain weight, okay? Night sweats, okay? I can, if I drink just a couple sips of what I call estrogen water, bottled water, I'll have night sweats for
and
the
just to remind everybody, you're talking about plastic bottles, not my good stainless steel bottle that you
That's
got me.
right. Look at how compliant you are
Thank
after
you.
all my complaining.
Yes.
Of course, fatigue. Huge. Oh my gosh, when my T's down, I just don't want to do anything. I just don't have any motivation. Sleep disturbance. Now that's separate than night sweats. Okay? I sleep much better when my testosterone is higher. Shrunken testicles. If you think your testicles are getting smaller, they probably are. It's a sign you ought to get your T checked. Low sexual performance and loss of libido are out there, but I really find that men who come in and have low testosterone still have no erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction is usually of another cause, unless your testosterone's down to nothing. But losing interest is clearly a symptom. Of course, osteoporosis, okay? It's the primary hormone for men and women for building bone. And in some people, hair loss. I always tell people that when I was a young man, I would shave twice a day. On days that my T is down, I don't have as much beard now after 2 days than I used to have in 1. If I get into a period where I've done things right and my testosterone's up, I'll get up in the morning to shave and go, oh my gosh.
Really need it, huh?
Yeah.
But the hair loss, you got me on that one as well. That's the opposite of what I've heard, because I've been told that it's like men who have high testosterone, like male pattern baldness or balding guys or whatever, might be okay on their testosterone, whereas guys that have a full head of hair.
No, that's not true. No. And we're going to talk about the drugs for male pattern baldness because they all lower testosterone.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah. So the problem that we've run into is we're in this society now where as David Crosby said, who are those men and on what street do they live? Those guys, they want us to be sick because they get to keep 30% of every dollar we spend on healthcare. That's how our healthcare industry works. It's not healthcare, it's disease promotion, right? And we've talked about that many times about many diseases that we're being told the wrong thing because you make money off of it.
Okay.
And so they really don't want testosterone fixed. Oh my gosh, testosterone just changes mortality and changes morbidity, and people live longer and they're healthier. So we finally got this study that came out a couple years ago that was done with the vets. And it said, oh, you give people testosterone, they have a heart attack right away. Okay? Oh, don't do it. It's bad. You'll have a heart attack. And I go, well, that's the same thing as people go join a spa and they have a heart attack. They feel better. They finally get their gumption up. And so they looked into the research and it just got ripped to shreds in the literature and they finally had to retract it. And so that's this one. All these concerns about testosterone, that all fell apart. Because when they got done, this is what we know. You want your heart to be healthy, keep your testosterone up. And of course, it's important to remember that this is more than just testosterone, because what we have in our body is we have alpha-linoleic acid, which is in all of the oils that we eat, and we have an enzyme, an aromatase, that turns that into gamma-linoleic acid, what's in evening primrose oil, And this is the reason why evening primrose oil is good for ADD, diabetic neuropathy, breast pain, is because the people who have that enzyme deficiency need GLA, because then GLA gets turned into cholesterol. So now all these statins are all lowering your T, okay? And then that cholesterol is being turned into squalene, which is the hormone in sharks, squalase. Doesn't do anything in us. It is a hormone, called a supplement called Moducare. And then the Moducare, the squalene, is being turned into pregnenolone. And pregnenolone is the first hormone in the human body that does something, and then it divides up, and it either goes to DHEA or it goes over to progesterone. The DHEA turns into testosterone, and testosterone turns into estrogen. And that's how we make hormones in the human body. And so one of the things that I do is I take 50 milligrams of good quality. Most of the stuff at Kroger's and GNC is garbage. I buy good quality DHEA. And that, well, at least I'm putting a precursor in. Now, DHEA is made by the adrenal. My DHEA is low because of a whole bunch of factors in my life, but that doesn't mean my testicle will use it. That becomes the big problem. And so when you get done, I want to go through some of the risk factors. So we've talked about, there's another one, heart disease, okay? Reduction in diabetes, insulin sensitivity. And then we want to look at some of our causes. Opioids. I have lots and lots of my workers' comp patients who have no testosterone after years of taking OxyContin or long-acting morphine. This was just published 2 weeks ago that sperm counts have dropped to 50% in Europe in the last 10 years. That's all about BPA. Thank you for using your steel bottle. Okay. And then we get into the big thing that's going on in America. This is all I talk about. This is a PDF you can download online. You don't have to spend anything for it. It's a book you can buy. But if you type this, if you go to keep-a-breast.org, it's at the bottom there, okay, you can download this PDF. It's excellent. And they gave us the dirty dozen of why we have no testosterone. Okay? And at the top is BPA, your water bottle, dioxin, love canal, atrazine, phthalates, soy, perchlorates, rocket fuel, fire retardants, lead, arsenic, and mercury, the three toxic heavy metals, perfluorinated chemicals, oh my gosh, there's a million of them, organophosphate pesticides, your water, depending on what farming community you're in, and glycol ethers. And there's a complete discussion on this PDF of how to get rid of each one of them, so I'm not going to cover it. It's an hour in itself. Our point is, don't drink estrogen water. Quit drinking and eating things out of plastics. If you want to know more about why soy is poisonous, get Kayla Daniels' book, The Whole Soy Story, which I make all of my men read because it teaches you how to get the estrogen out of your body. Lots of independent research. Number one, bisphenol, BPA. Okay? This stuff's causing cancer. So, you already covered it. Improve your water bottle. Steel, glass, or do you know the right number on your plastic? And I don't, so I just don't buy plastic, okay? You'll notice that the name of the website was keepabreast.org. How cute. They're trying to get people to not have breast cancer. Mm-hmm. Keep your breasts, sure. Okay? This was published long time ago. Soy causes breast cancer. Gynecologist telling anybody this? Remember, the other thing causes breast cancer is mammograms, okay? This is, you want to learn the word endocrine disruptor, okay? Soy, plasticizers are endocrine disruptors. All 12 of those things that were on the list are endocrine disruptors, okay? But endocrine disruptors go beyond testosterone to thyroid and cortisol, etc. Most potent endocrine disruptor in my life, Glade air fresheners. If I walk into a building that has Glade air fresheners, I might as well start drinking plastic water. It won't do anything compared to what a Glade air freshener does to me. That is the most toxic object I've found in a lot of people. If you go up and if you put in endocrine disruptors in Google, or endocrine disruptors in Glade, or the company, okay, which is Johnson & Johnson, you'll just find people who've devoted their life to educating people about endocrine disruptors. Food containers. The lining of all tin cans, they don't rust anymore, do they? It's because they're all lined with plastic. You can now buy water in a box. Did you notice that? Okay, that's because that's wax. That's safe. Okay, there you go. Air fresheners don't make sense. A good takeoff on everything. I love the kid down there. That's not my dirty diaper. Okay, it was a good one. Okay. The other thing that's true is to remember that some men have no estrogen and need a little bit. I don't have any estrogen. I experimented with this. It didn't work out. But I've had some men I put on just a little bit of female hormone and they go, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. The European Union must be getting a lot of pressure because their endocrine society wants to downgrade the warnings on endocrine disruptors, which is interesting. Okay. And so you keep going. Diabetes, heart disease, all mortality. Just like the Sergeyev study on bioidentical hormones in women showed 44% reduction in death. Men who fix their testosterone greatly live longer and have less diseases. Everybody says, oh, don't do it, you'll get blood clots. Turned out not to be true. That was an urban legend. That research is now published. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get through the front end of our basic stuff so we can get into some discussions about how you make this stop, okay? And so when you get done, what's the big factors? Vitamin D. Do you know your vitamin D level? Get a vitamin D 25OH. That's the correct one, not D1, 25, which is bad vitamin D, okay? And get rid of the plastics, get rid of the endocrine disruptors, get off the SSRIs and pain pills, maybe take some GLA and DHEA and see what happens. My experience is, however, that men over 50, all those things I do, they'll come back and they'll say, I'm a little better. Not a little better, okay? And you do their lab, they're not any different. Well, why are they better? Because they increased their metabolism, they made more testosterone, and they used it. Remember, testosterone blood tests are a measurement of what you didn't use, not what you have. And so I actually see women who have an estrogen of 0 and a high FSH. I give them estrogen, their estrogen is still 0, but their FSH dropped because I gave them estrogen that they used, but not enough to build up in their blood. Testosterone's the same way, so is thyroid. These blood tests don't mean what doctors think they do. They think it's a level of how good you are. It's a level of what you didn't use. What if you don't use any of it? I see thyroid patients that won't utilize thyroid. Their TSH is up. They have high T3 and T4. I put them on rubidium, the mineral, and their TSH falls. Their thyroid goes down because they used it. So doctors are confused about the metabolism of endocrinology. So we finally get to the point where I got a guy sitting in front of me in my office, and he goes, Doc, I really need to get back to work and feel better and end the madness. Okay, let's get this thing going. First thing I always tell them is, are you sure? I'm not doing it. And they go, why not? I go, I'm a prepper. I said,
Oh, you mean you're not doing yours for
I'm
yourself?
going to do it myself. You won't. You know this. I won't take the stuff.
Okay.
Because testosterone is a controlled substance, because so much of it was being sold from Mexico called Mexican brown, and these guys are injecting it in weight labs, and it was being abused back in the 80s. So the state medical boards all declared it a controlled substance like OxyContin and amphetamines. I have to fill out government forms every time I write testosterone because it's treated just like like OxyContin. Okay,
I see.
I have to go up on the orders report and fill in government reports and the whole thing. Okay, and so as a result, you can't buy more than a month's supply, so you can't stockpile it. And so if I go on testosterone and there's a crisis, Jay's only good for 30 days, and that's if it happens the day I get whatever my 30-day script is. And after that, I'm laying on a sofa, worse than ever, because if you replace testosterone, is whenever I give people a script or whatever treatment is their first testosterone script, I always hand it to them and go, I now own you. You'll be back in a month. Well, not with me. I have 6 months for me, but most doctors would make you come in every month, okay? And I go, here you go. I own you now. This will never end. I now own you. And you have to get that straight in your mind that you need to go back to the first half of this talk and go, I need to work on my D and, get rid of the plasticizers and read whole soy story and get rid of the aroma disruptors, because I don't want to be here. As a prepper, I don't want to be here. I want to be as healthy as I can get, because I don't want to get in a crisis. World stops for a while, and I need to be up working. I got things to do in that environment. I'm now preparing my own food, and
You got to be at high function.
and I got to be at high function. Instead, I've crashed. Okay. And so from a prepper point of view, I go, no, I don't want to do that.
So let's just be real clear about this, because it's not obvious at all to anybody. Let's pretend it's about any other nutritional deficiency. We live in a pretty nutritionally deficient culture in general.
Right.
So let's just pretend you were low on calcium for a while, or you were low on iron for a while. If you supplemented that for a while, you'd end up at a stronger place, a better place than you originally were.
And when you stop, you'd stay some better, but a little less.
Down slowly, but you
wouldn't get worse.
You wouldn't suddenly become worse than you started out.
Right.
But this
because
actually,
testosterone suppresses LH from the pituitary and makes your testicles shrink. And your testicle has less capacity to make testosterone 6 weeks after you start therapy.
help us understand, because it's not intuitively obvious, even that part.
Okay.
A healthy young 18-year-old, 25-year-old guy, he's got all the male hormones, he's in the flush of his prime of his strength and everything like that. Why isn't the fact that he has a healthy testosterone level doing what you just said and messing up
because you got the drive wrong. He's got a bunch of LH that's telling his testicle to be bigger and make more testosterone.
Right.
And so he's in his system. I'm countering his system. I'm putting in testosterone from the outside, and that testosterone
Puts the
is
brakes on
pushing
everything.
the brakes on everything. Replacement isn't the same as manufacture.
Okay.
It's completely inverted.
I
You
guess.
can do the same thing to a thyroid patient. People come in and I'll give them 10 days of thyroid, and I go, I don't want you to take any longer than that, because if it doesn't help you, I don't want you on it, because I can make you hypothyroid with thyroid.
Okay.
Endocrine system shuts down in the presence of replacement. It's making 200 mics a day. I give 100, it makes 100. I give 150, it makes 50. I give 200, it makes none. Thyroid has no job, it atrophies. I quit, and the thyroid looks up and says, I'm only a fifth of my size. Now, might it come back slowly over a couple of years? Yeah, well, a couple of years is a long time.
Okay. So it's kind of like if you were using a power steering in your car all the time and your arms got weaker, because back when you used to do the hard work, or all of us,
That's right.
used to do, our ancestors did much harder work
That's
physically than most of us did, and we're not as strong as they. Okay.
So let's assume that we're going to replace testosterone, okay? The very first thing that I do in my practice is I go, I don't care what testosterone you're going to end up on. We'll talk about that. But I used to spend a couple years giving guys supplements and trying to decide if it was working, and one day I'd give up and I'd give them a shot of testosterone. It wouldn't work, and I'd go, oh, heck, I had the wrong diagnosis. Okay? I just wasted 2 years at this. So I pretty quickly now, usually by at least third visit, I'll go, let's do a little experiment. Let's just give you 200 milligrams of testosterone intramuscular, my least favorite, but you know it absorbed because you injected it.
Okay.
Okay? And I go, tell me how you feel in 36 hours. And if the guy sends me an email in 36 hours and says, I'll rob a bank to get this stuff. This is great. I go, okay, I got the right diagnosis.
All right.
But if I give him 200 milligrams of Depo-T and he says, didn't work, I'm starting over. I'm going, look, there's a wide range of normal, 240 to 900, which used to be 1,200 to 2,400 40 years ago in practice. So, we've definitely done something bad to our society. But there's got to be a normal guy at the bottom that's okay. And I think those people exist, and they don't have the symptoms. And so if I got a guy who's fatigued, testosterone doesn't work, I'm off thinking about toxicology, thyroid, adrenal function, I'm looking for other causes.
And the single dose test is not enough to
In and out of you the
turn
first
off
time in
his-
4 or 5 days. It takes about 6 weeks for a hormone to shut a system down.
Okay.
And so I have time to play around and decide and get out. If I am going, I have a number of ways that I can give testosterone. I can inject it, and I'll show you a chart in here in a second of what happens to the blood levels when you inject it. It's very erratic. You're high in 2 days and you're rock bottom in 7, and the whole thing over time gets a little smoother. But those rises and falls cause your testosterone to turn to estrogen, and the side effects all come from the changes. So you wish you could get smooth.
Steady.
Steady. So I like transdermal gels. They make a lot of them. They're about $600 a month. Your insurance had better be ideal. Axiron, Androgel, Testum, they're all really expensive, okay? But I can go have the stuff made at a custom compounding pharmacist for about $70. The difference between a $70 and a $600 is all scam. It's all theft by the insurance industry.
I was going to ask, is there any justification you
None.
are aware of?
None.
that?
It's the same stuff. My custom compounder can make Axiron, and he does for me all the time. And so my favorite thing to do, and most docs aren't doing this unless it's $500 stuff, is you can just make gel, okay? Here's what happens with the shots.
This is even an intramuscular shot.
Yeah, this is intramuscular, and I want to go out here, and you can see that this stuff is just disappearing, okay? I don't actually agree with this chart. I actually think that you can't get testosterone to last that long. Most of my patients really are happier to take less more often and do it about every 7
Even
to 10
out,
days.
yeah.
You go give a big shot, and man, that guy's going to be aggressive on day 2 and angry the day before he shot. That was terrible replacement. Testopel came out with pellets you put under your skin. The Europeans have been putting hormone pellets under the skin for 50 years in Europe. And I've been doing it as Testopel for 30 years. I was one of the researchers for it. And the problem is that you have to have insurance because it's really expensive, and then they don't let you have enough. The maximum they'll give you is 625 milligrams. I found a company called Sotopel, and they make 200 milligram pellets, and they're $25 a piece. Last 6 months. So you're talking 6 pellets plus insertion cost, $350 divided by 6 months, $60 a month, same as the gel, compounded.
Yeah.
Okay, linear, 6 to 7 months, no ups and downs.
Sustained release.
Nobody needs to stop their estrogen. Okay, they don't have to block it because they're getting it from their shots. I have to put a lot of people on Arimidex, the drug for breast cancer, and stop the testosterone from going to estrogen sometimes. And so we used to have this thing I always told people, it feels like you had a license plate stapled to your skin, called the androderm patch. I never got a man to ever wear one more than 72 hours. They worked great, but they were, as big as a playing card and had this adhesive you were always allergic to. New thing that happened to me about 2 years ago, a Russian peptide called Testosterone. First time I took it, man, I was in heaven. Took it again, didn't work. You're fixing genetics, but if the rest of your mechanics are wrong, it won't work. Now I'm working on injectable peptides. Sometime in the future, maybe in a half a year, I'll know more about it. I want to talk about injectable peptides. I'm seeing amazing stuff from it, but not tonight. So when we get done, the first thing your family doc's going to say when you say, I want to fix my testosterone is, oh no, it causes prostatic cancer. Let's cover that, okay? No, it doesn't, okay? And this guy's saying, really, when you're working on prostatic cancer, would you slow down, quit doing procedures, and quit overreacting because PSAs aren't worth a crap, okay? This guy says, what are the 3 risk factors for prostatic cancer? You're too fat. Well, why are you too fat? Because your T's low. We missed that one. Vitamin D and selenium, and ILGF. What's ILGF? It's the hormone that's made by growth hormone. And if growth hormone's down, testosterone's down. 2 of the 3 risk factors. That guy missed it. They were all low T. Okay? Here you go. High levels of testosterone are not a risk for prostatic cancer. We're going to do a few of these, okay? All the guys are going to like this. More sex lowers your risk of prostatic cancer. And you know why? Because your testosterone goes up. Here's another one. Repeated ejaculations and real sex is better than masturbation in this study. They didn't do that. I want to show this. This is an old database of mine, and I want to show my PSA at 5.2, went down to 2.03. My testosterone was 420. It went up to 806. Look at what my PSA did. Okay. PSA screening. A failed experiment. We don't have many cancer diagnoses that have more controversy. And in there, they said, in the largest study ever done, PSA screening caused an increase in mortality. Well, you got to be fair there. This study was done during the era that they cut off men's testicles with prostatic cancer. And what happened to them? Zero testosterone. The only men I ever see with Alzheimer's are prostate cancer patients on Lupron, or they had their testicles removed. They finally did a study on prostatic cancer and actually followed people and found out that taking their testicles off killed them faster.
Oh my.
Only took 40 years to do that research. Okay, I want to go into this one. This is a PSA that's been steady on a man I've known for a long time. I actually have about 20 of them on him. And one day he came in a panic because he was high. And I said, Richard, search your world for stevia. 2:1 to 227, 26 days he's back down. Notice he didn't come all the way back down. Stevia permanently elevates your PSA. Well, how did I know that? You've heard me talk about this before. Here's my numbers. 2, 19, 12 days later, 8, and now I can't get below 6. Stevia screwed my prostate up for life. As long as we're talking about prostatic cancer, if there are guys out there that are worried, you really want to know about the new treatment, the Gamma Knife. They now do it at Cleveland Clinic, University of Michigan, University of Tennessee, Ohio State. No surgery. You go in once a day for 43 days, and you have 3 radiation beams that are designed just to hit your prostate and miss everything else. And I had a friend of mine had a PSA of 63 and a prostate the size of a grapefruit, and everyone told him he was a dead man. And he went down to Tennessee, and after 4 treatments he could urinate, and I got a PSA back on him last week, and his PSA 2 years later is 0.00. His prostate is now gone, and he had no surgery. Reductase inhibitors, all those things you take to make your hair grow, they cause prostatic cancer. And the last one, calcium. Great book, The Calcium Bomb. Everybody ought to read it. Calcium kills. Get your calcium in vegetables. It's good for you. Get your calcium in dairy products. It's neutral. Hurts you as much as it helps you. Drink it. Chew up a pill. Do whatever you want. You're killing yourself.
So you're not a fan. I think we talked about this earlier. You're not a fan of calcium supplements.
Yeah, I do everything to avoid calcium. Absolutely. I don't. I try and keep it out of my diet, except in my greens.
Okay.
So, questions. There's a lot of information, but it's a complex subject.
Well, there was something that mystery there. You mentioned the controlled substance, which affects inability to do forward stockpiling of testosterone for a man who wants to supplement, but is concerned about the continuity of supply going forward. But you mentioned this Sodopel. Is that a multi-month?
It lasts 6 months, 6 to 7, and then it's going to taper off for about 3 more.
How does that not violate the 1 month rule?
Well, because for a number of reasons. One, it's not being sold by the pharmaceutical industry through the insurance industry. I'm buying it from a compounder. And the second thing is they're counting on the fact that you're not getting any other testosterone for the other 5 months. And so they're going, okay, this is 6 months therapy.
I see.
Yeah.
Well,
I still don't like it. You'll notice I'm not putting pellets in myself.
Because it still makes you dependent. It still shuts down your natural production.
And these guys come back and they just rave. All these guys I do Sodopel on, most of them have been on troches or gels or creams or shots or whatever, and every one of them go on the pellets and they go, I'll never do anything else. They love smooth. They love not having to remember meds. They love the fact that they're not getting estrogen. They're not seeing it fall off if they miss a dose. The pellets are wonderful, but you still got the problem. I don't want to do it. Not me.
And it's not every doctor that knows how to do that, or not every...
No, there are only 2 or 3 people in my part of the state who do it, myself included.
Okay.
And a lot of them aren't doing Sodopel. I was working with Testopel. There's also a new injectable testosterone called Avid, and it lasts 3 months. Pretty cool. 1 shot, 3 months. So I had a guy, and he travels all over the world, and he's frequently gone for a month, and the only thing that was working was injectable. He didn't absorb anything. Now, I'm going to put pellets in him. But we went to, he had good insurance. We went to the insurance company, and they said, oh, yeah, it's covered. And I said, great. And they said, there's a $700 copay. I went, excuse me, my pellets are $325. Why would I pay a $700 copay? And then if you have a deductible, it was $1,500. I go, you call that coverage? You would be kidding me. That's what, $300 a month? It's insanity. It's just insurance company gouging. It's just insanity.
We haven't talked about, you mentioned very strongly recommending removing the endocrine disruptors in your life, the sources of BPA and so on like that. And we didn't mention today, but I've read, and I don't know how accurate it is, that the thermally printed receipts that we handle all the time,
they're terrible,
are very highly absorbable.
They're terrible. And they're also sensitizing. The inks tend to be one of the more sensitizing inks that cause allergy.
Okay, but for people who are interested in evaluating the effectiveness, and you mentioned this at some of the guys, for natural either nutritional supplements, dietary changes, and lifestyle changes, including exercise, that could help positively influence their testosterone level. You did mention vitamin D. You mentioned some supplements.
Not much.
Like DHEA.
I got to tell you, I'm kind of underwhelmed by supplements. What I didn't talk about, glad you brought it up.
Goodness knows there's a lot of supplements out there that say
they do.
Super tea, amazing tea, wonderful tea.
There are a lot more for erectile dysfunction. A lot of them are more like party drugs for people who want to have something more the way Viagra does. They really have not been that effective in a lot of people. But I want to talk, I had a really interesting experience. The smartest man I know is a biochemist who I lecture with. And he went to a lecture one time by a famous lecturer who teaches supplements for testosterone. And the guy walked into this lecture and he said, I told you this was going to be a lecture on 10 supplements, but I might as well get this out there up front. It's not going to be 10 supplements. It's going to be 9 supplements and a drug. Well, the people who were in the crowd all hated drugs, and he said the room chilled visibly, and everybody was looking angry. Right. And he said, well, as long as I'm going to do this, not only that, but of the 10 things, if I was only going to take one, it would be the drug. And people's chairs started sliding back, and people are walking out, slamming doors. And he looked down at his partner, and he said, I told you they'd be close-minded. They're not capable of the truth. They're too ingrained, the whole fight of allopathic and right. medicine, etc.
Yeah.
And so that made some people stop walking away, and they sat down. And he said, the drug is Cialis, not Viagra, and not Levitra, only Cialis. He said Cialis is really, really unique. It's a wonder drug because it makes the cortex of the brain tell the hypothalamus to tell the pituitary to make LH. And luteinizing hormone tells the Leydig cells in the testicle to make more testicle, and you fix the problem. And he came back from the meeting and said, give me a script for it. Okay. And I said, you know what that's going to cost? It's like $18 a tablet. Okay. And I said, but I can get it out of Canada. You can't get it out of any place in Canada, but Global Pharmacy
right.
is a great pharmacy, and they're out of Europe. And mine's from Slovakia, my Cialis. And so we both ordered it and waited for it to come in. And I've been on it now for 5 years. And 10 milligrams of Cialis once a day has done more to alleviate my low T symptoms. My testicular volume is up, my muscle mass is up, my sleep is better, I never have night sweats, my mood is more stable. Guess what? My lab's no better. Because I'm utilizing it. Again, the failure of the lab test, the famous lab test. This is about symptoms. But I am 3 times better than I was 10 years ago. And I would give 80%. I'm taking a lot of supplements for T, okay, because it's important to me. But the Cialis works. It's really, really worthwhile.
Other supplements, as long as we're on the topic, that are supportive of the healthy functions that are all part of the whole system.
Well, saw palmetto and pygeum and milk thistle all are good for your prostate, and almost Prostax, prostate, the number 8. There are so many. The one that's on the radio all the time. Those have all got the same thing in them. And zinc, okay?
Yeah.
Those are all good for your prostate, okay? But they won't change your testosterone. And other than DHEA and evening primrose oil and the Cialis, I really don't have much that one supplement I take one a day of is calcium D-glucarate. And the liver makes calcium D-glucarate. And when you're aromatizing your testosterone to estrogen, the estrogen gets stuck in your liver, and the liver receptors send a message to the body, we've got plenty of testosterone because I see estrogen on my receptors. When you take a capsule of 500 milligrams of calcium D-glucarate every day, you help your body detoxify, but the first thing it does is it throws out all of the estrogen. I started on it before Cialis. I took 1 capsule, and in a couple hours I felt different. But, yeah. It didn't make my T go up. It just was one, I just go, I got a lot of worse in the water,
And in the end, probably most men would agree that it's the symptomatic relief is what they're interested in, and their longevity.
And that's why in the end I look up at guys now and I go, you read Whole Soy Story, you get rid of your air fresheners and your crap, get off your plastic water, and I'm going to give you Cialis. Go get a 20 milligram tablet, and 1 a day, and you only take half, so now you're getting to stockpile half your Cialis. Because they'll give you 20, 1 a day, and you're only taking half of that. And so now you got a stockpile. So I solved my prepper problem. I got ahead, okay? And so anytime I've usually got 6-8 months of Cialis that's in my drawer, and then I start taking the old stuff. Don't keep taking the new script that arrives. Rotate your stock, okay? And most men will tell you in 4 or 5 days. They're substantially better.
Now that talks about symptomatic improvement, but you held up one of several of those sheets a while ago that talked about reduced mortality from proper testosterone levels. So if
nobody's studying that. This concept of I feel better, did I change my mortality? Nobody's looking at it that way, so we don't know.
I see.
But again, their endpoint is blood tests. I go, if I feel better, I have more testosterone on my receptors. And so I can trust that I'm doing the right thing because I'm making the symptoms of low T go away.
This is fascinating. And again,
it's tough.
It's
tough material.
Hearing.
No, and it's not what you're hearing. No, not at all. I have men who come in all the time and they go, I see my urologist and he gives me a shot of testosterone every 6 weeks. And I go, how long are you better? And they go, about 7-8 days. I go, what do you tell him? And he goes, oh, no, nobody needs it faster than 6 weeks. I go, is he doing any lab? No. He just keeps checking my PSA. I go, what'd your PSA do? It went down a little bit.
It's fascinating. We're talking a lot about on HealingYourself.Life how to actually, rather than sort of going after a disorder, trying to support the body's health. And it sounds like a lot of what you're talking about here is that there are supportive things we can do nutritionally. There are definitely supportive things we can do about eliminating endocrine disruptors from our lives.
That's where it's at. Clean it up. Clean it up. There's just so much dirty food and so much crap out there. We don't need all this stuff. We don't need perfumes. It's back to the aluminum in your deodorant. What are we doing? You'd be kidding me. We're intentionally putting a toxic metal on our skin so we can be socially acceptable. It's crazy. By the way, for everybody, that ain't plastic. That's polycarbonate.
I have my personal testimony on this is when I first came to you to talk about my testosterone issue. Actually, I didn't know it was a testosterone issue. I was talking to you about frequency of nighttime urination. I was talking to you about night sweats. I was talking to you about fatigue, that sort of thing. And more recently, you've mentioned to me about the calcium D-glucarate, which I added. You've mentioned to me about increasing the Cialis. Well, first of all, introducing it, and then increasing it to 10 milligrams per day. And I just remarked to my wife just this morning that my nightly wake-ups are now, she'll get up to go to the bathroom in the night, and I'll think about, do I want to? Do I need
I'll
to?
make it.
It was never an issue. I mean, I can make it up now twice a night instead of 5 times a night.
Cialis is on the U.S. market for BPH, for enlarged prostate.
Interesting.
So it's interesting.
Yeah,
they managed to leave the
package insert.
testosterone out of it. The higher testosterone effect makes the benign prostatic hypertrophy go away, and they managed to skip the T and get the Cialis to the BPH. You can't make this stuff up. Our science is so muddled up.
Well, we're glad to have a new, fresh voice giving us different perspectives. And if people want to connect with a like-minded doc in their area, I think your tip in the past is talk to your compounding pharmacist.
That's right.
Ask them who's writing those kind of scripts and who's in the know, and that'll help them get connected to integrative doctors who are taking these lower-cost approaches.
I also heard from my custom compounding pharmacist Friday night that Cialis has been released under patent, and that he can now buy it and compound it, which means that the price will go down at Global, and that we'll probably have more control over being, because when you go to your compounder, you don't have your insurance company involved. And so you could go to your compounder and say, I want to pay cash for, 500 capsules. I mean, you'd have to have a lot of money, but,
Sure.
So things are going to change with Cialis. And for my favorite, treatment, to get cheaper and easier to get will be a good thing.
Well, we've been talking with Dr. J. Nielsen MD, Integrative Medicine Family Doc in Northwest Ohio. And thank you, as always, for joining us here on HealingYourself.Life.
It was a pleasure.